All right, Crimson Desert is now out, and I said that when I picked it up, I'd take a look at it on the base PS5. And this isn't necessarily going to be some scientific look at the game. I figured I would just fire it up here on the base PlayStation 5 and we'll see how it does. Now, I know there are different modes in the game for graphical settings. I have played 2 hours now on the PlayStation 5 Pro, so I could go through the initial tutorial area and get to where you can kind of free roam a bit. And I figured we would just kind of run around, see how the base PS5 holds up. I can go into a town, and then I'll jump around between performance, balance, and quality and see if we can figure out which one, at least early on from what I've seen, is the best to use. So if you guys enjoy the video, hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. So to start, there's three different modes in Crimson Desert. There's a balanced, there's a performance, and there's a quality mode. Quality, it seems to be capped at 30 frames and just has the, as you'd assume, the best image quality that you can get. Between that, though, balanced, I think, sets it at like a 40 FPS cap, and then performance just uncaps up to 60 as best as it can, and it gets quite blurry with the image. So I figure we go through all three of these. I'll drop it into quality right away here on the base PS5. I have HDR off because the recording software and HDR does all kinds of weird stuff with the color. So I'm just going to leave it like that, though, in quality mode. And you know what? The thing I've noticed with this, okay, is as you can see, it is 30 frames, but the draw distance is actually quite good. Again, for being on the base PS5, not the PS5 Pro, which I have been playing on the PS5 Pro on a larger OLED screen, and the overall shots of the landscape here, it's quite impressive. It really is. And even coming over here on quality mode, it looks pretty good. Now, when I do move over to, we'll say, to performance, you're gonna see a pretty big hit. Like I was a little surprised when I moved to that. It's quite the image becomes very soft. A lot of the trees you can see all the way off in the distance become kind of smeared. But it does a decent enough job when you're out here running around in the world, trying to hold 60 frames per second with a pretty soft looking. It's very noticeable when I'm running around now. I wanted to go into town though, which is a bit further up over there. You can kind of see. And the reason I want to do that is because when you get into town, that's at least for what I saw on the PS5 Pro, that's where it started to really have a harder time. Like just kind of running through the streets with the NPCs, it was chugging quite a bit. So I figured I wanted to at least get to the town while we're just kind of wandering around here on the PS5. There's people were very curious as to how the game would operate on the base system because it really wasn't shown at all. There was one stream where they kind of played it for a bit at 1080p, 30 frames, and it was holding up. But I'm sure people were curious, especially about things like the performance mode and how it looks. I think you can probably get away with it if you really want the smoother feel to the game. The thing I've noticed though is so I've played a couple hours, as you can see, being out here in the world for the game. The controls are a bit delayed, and you can see the pop in here as we're running on the ground. But the controls have a bit of a delay to them. Like the jump, you can see when I press to when I jump, it's something you definitely feel while you're moving, and the platforming gets a little sketchy. All right, when I'm moving, and especially if you're up in the sky jumping between the platforms, it's kind of like you end up mashing square a few times. So you're not sure if you hit it just right, and when you're trying to run by pressing, in this case, it'd be cross or A, it would you have to move from that button then to square, and there is a bit of a delay. So funny enough, quality mode being locked at 30 I don't think is going to affect any of like the input latency. Well, it should, but I don't think there's going to be that much of a feel to it compared to other games where maybe the controls are a bit more responsive. Now, the mode that I think does work for the base PS5 like quite well is actually balance mode. So we've been running around here in performance, and you can even see like the bridge and some of the trees here. If I move over to quality, those will look a lot better, but it'll feel a bit more sluggish, obviously. Balanced is like, I mean, as you expect, right in the middle to where it looks better. It feels a little better. It's not quite performance level in terms of the feel, but it's also not like you're underwater with quality mode. And I think sitting at like a 40 FPS cap makes more sense because I'd be curious to see where that performance mode is sitting when you start seeing things like many NPCs on screen, for example. I don't think the performance mode is holding up great in that situation. So when the performance mode falters, you really lose its advantage then, and you just have kind of a blurrier image from it. So again, if we kind of move into town here, and this is it's so crazy because this game, I you jump off of like like a really high up point is what I'll say as you're wrapping up like the tutorial chapter 1 area, and it's pretty impressive as to how much stuff you can see from way up high, and it makes me think about how long this game probably will end up being people are saying 200 hours and they still have more to do. So what I'm showing you is a very small section of the game obviously, but this is kind of what you can do on really just how long the game's been out at this point. So let's go up into town though. And the thing with this is the towns do feel very very busy, very lived in, I guess. Like when I'm running through the streets, there is a lot happening. So it kind of makes sense why you would see the frame rate tank because I think you're going to see like the CPU just being bound completely here. Let's move up. I'm curious, anyone out there who has it on the Xbox, like the Xbox Xbox Series S, man, that would be an interesting one. But I've just seen it here on the PS5 and then the PS5 Pro. Let's keep moving through. Find some people. Yeah, so this will be where people when the frame rate analysis comes out and they got the charts on screen, they're just going to be running through these areas because it seems that as you kind of go through and you feel it more in the camera as you're moving it with a lot of the NPCs on screen in town. It just kind of has that moment where it stutters a little bit when you're looking around and it feels a little slower. So if we go into like performance mode and we'll try it there. And you can see how much softer it looks now, especially the trees, the people's faces. So, unfortunately, I don't think it's bad to say because I usually go, "Hey, get the frame rate." The performance mode is kind of rough. It is. And I mean the game's running. I but it's like, man, and again, when you go through the town, you can kind of see the frame rate get closer to it feels like balanced mode. So it balance mode, if you have the base PS5 and that's what you're playing on, balance mode is probably the move. I mean, if you don't care about like if you're fine with 30 frames, quality actually looks pretty good, but it feels really sluggish compared to the other modes. Here's a good spot with the trees and everything. Let me go ahead and performance mode. Jump to balanced. And then we'll jump over to quality. There we go. It was a shame because I've become used to games having 60 frame per second options on the PS5 this generation that still look decent enough. This is not really one of those games from what I've seen early on. This is a game that who tests the limits of that performance mode is what I'll say. So if you have a PS5 Pro, the PS5 Pro so far from what I've seen looks kind of like this quality mode but at 60-ish frames. And I think that's what you're going to see for performance modes in this game across the board on consoles is it's 60-ish. But the PS5 Pro seems to hold it up pretty well. It's also using PSSR, the new PSSR 2.0. Let me know how you feel about the controls in the comments for this game because that's the first thing I noticed when they started saying things like click R3 to crouch and square is jump. And you have you have buttons that do one thing, but then if you press and hold, it does another, and then if you press it in combination with another button, it does something else. And it's it's not necessarily confusing yet. It feels very like it feels like you're kind of tripping over yourself sometimes to do different actions, or kind of stopping for a second to remember what you like your ultra hand ability is. Because I have like like this heal this strike, and you got to click in R3 and hold it to use it. Uh, you have to like I have this ultra hand like ability. You got to click in L3 and hold it for a bit before you can use it. So there's a lot of stuff, and this is early on. And to my understanding, you just keep getting stuff thrown at you more and more. I looked in the skill tree, and they have all kinds of combinations of of buttons that'll like I immediately had to go unlock the RKO because that's a combination of buttons. And maybe I can find someone who's doing RKO to them. Like they're just kind of enjoying like nice lunch, and I just come out of nowhere. RKO, boom! Look at that. I mean, come on, whoa, that looked painful. And you just keep doing it. Oh, where do you go? You went flying. So that I mean, you really you can't write off a game even with the performance mode the way it's looking when you could just run around and RKO people. I mean, come on. Oh, I can search a body. I mean, that might be game of the year candidate right there. Yeah, there's all kinds of ridiculous moves. There's like a body slam move where you jump way up in there and slam down. So it they had a lot of ideas for the game, and it kind of feels like they didn't have enough buttons for it. But at least from what I was seeing initially, like right away in this game with the base PS5, balanced mode is going to be the way to go. Performance looks rough at best. It's very blurry, and quality actually looks pretty clean. Like if you have no problem at 30 frames in a game, put it on quality and don't think about it again. But again, this is kind of early on, so unfortunately, I don't have any late game stuff I can show or climb to the tallest mountain immediately and just look out over it. But the draw distance, I think, is the most impressive part so far of the game from what I've seen, and it even holds up here on the base PS5 at this time. But let me know what you guys think about the game, though, down below in the comments. If you picked it up earlier today and you've had a chance to play it, where are you playing it? And what do you think about it visually, or in which mode are you playing it on right now? Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.